in terms of why I would have rather went with Steven Nelson, at least for this year, especially with the whole mindset and mentality of, hey, we're running it back one last time for 7. If we're gonna do that, like, let's do that. That's just kind of how I view it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have been nice to have that versatility too, where you're not relying on James Pierre, Justin Layne now.
Right.
You could maybe have them take on the Cam Sutton
Mhm.
role from 2 or 3 years ago, where you put them in a little bit, see what their upside is, and then groom them to potentially be the starter in 2 or 3 years. But in this case, one of those dudes really got to step up.
No, without a doubt. And like,
I'm betting on Pierre. I'm all in. I'm all in,
it's
dude.
funny when I watch Pierre and Layne on tape. Pierre is the more productive player of the two. Very fundamental in terms of like his build and what he looks like out there. But Justin Layne athletically, like, it's different. Like, I watched Justin and you can see like why he was drafted.
Okay.
Like his length, his speed, hips, like it's certain things just like wow. But then you also see him have lapses mentally, where it's just like, all right, finish this play a little bit better. That's a PBU. All right, drive out of this break instead of just kind of coming out of it softer. Thinking more tackle. No, drive and think more like break in front of an interception. He's capable of doing that. I just think that he needs to have that like mentality drilled into him that you are good enough to do that. It just looks like from a confidence standpoint, he doesn't have the same confidence as Pierre. But Pierre doesn't have the same athletic ability as Justin Layne, if that makes sense. It's like, even though he's not as gifted, he's a more productive player. It's weird how it works. But that's what we always say. Like, just because a guy's a great athlete doesn't mean he's going to be a great player. And just because a player might be limited athletically, they can still excel. I mean, Robert Spillane was a prime example of what he did this year. He's not the fastest, the biggest, or the strongest, but he's productive. Vince Williams is another guy. He's made a career of this thing. He's not the fastest, he's not the biggest, but he's productive. So that's kind of like how I view them. But either way, I like those two guys in that conversation as like depth, not as potential starters right now.
The third cornerback.
Right, because we just haven't seen a lot from them to that standpoint.